Welcome to Airline Imperialism Episode 3, where airlines compete for land. Let me explain the rules again. What I will be doing today is spinning this wheel and then spinning this arrow to see which way they need to attack. So let's say the wheel lands on FedEx or American Airlines and the arrow points northeast. Or actually, hang on, I can't do that today in this round. And it will go southeast, which means American Airlines will travel southeast to claim extra land. I will be repeating this process until and out of all these airlines will win the round. Now pick your airline and cross your fingers because Airline Imperialism Episode 3 starts now. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we spin the wheel and the first airline to attack is Alaska Horizon. And where will Alaska Horizon be attacking? Southwest, which means it's Alaska Air Horizon invading United Express. The two regional airlines are going to be fighting. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have Alaska Horizon versus United Express. Let's see who will it fate lies on. Alright, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, United Express will take the land of Alaska Horizon. United Express will annihilate Alaska Horizon's land out of the map and will move on to be the next opponent for a future airline. Let's get it, shall we? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Alaska Horizon lost against United Express. Who is the next one going to be? And it's Spirit Airlines. And where will Spirit Airlines be attacking? East. Which means it's Spirit Airlines invading Frontier Airlines. The two brothers are going to fight. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here are the attackers, Spirit, and the opponent, Frontier. Let's see who will it decide on. Ladies and gentlemen, Spirit will now take the land of Frontier. Frontier Airlines losses against Spirit Airlines, and now Spirit Airlines will move on from Frontier Airlines, which means Spirit is now starting to grow big. Man, Frontier already lost against, last episode to different airlines. Frontier is actually starting to get beaten up. So let's go for it again, folks. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Frontier lost against Spirit Airlines previous round, so now let's see who will be the next airline, and it's the best airline in the world, Delta Airlines. And where will Delta be attacking? Northwest, which means it's Delta Airlines invading JSX, the semi-private airline versus a full-service airline. Also, EL stands for extra land. So let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have Delta versus JSX, a full-service airline versus a semi-private airline. So, who will it fate? Its fate decides on the wheel. Come on, Delta. Ladies and gentlemen, Delta wins this round, which means JSX, the semi-private airline, now loses to Delta. Now will surrender and merge its land with Delta. Let's keep going. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, JSX lost against Delta Airlines. So who's the next airline going to be? And it's American Airlines. And where will American Airlines be attacking? It'll go south, which means American Airlines will claim more land on the south. And now it's next to Spirit Airlines. Will American Airlines fight either Spirit or Southwest or claim the two extra pieces of land? Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, American Airlines won against with land. So now we got, next up is United Postal Service, aka UPS. And where will UPS be attacking? It'll go southwest, which means it's UPS versus its brother, FedEx Airlines. Let's go, the brother versus the brother. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have United Postal Service versus FedEx here, ladies and gentlemen. Who is going to be the next winner for this round? And it's going to be goes on. FedEx takes the land of United Postal Service, which means United Postal Service lost against FedEx and will move on to be the next airline to fight. And let's spin again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, UPS lost against FedEx, and FedEx won against UPS. Who's the next one going to be? And it's Prime Air. And where will Prime Air be attacking? It'll go eastish, which means it's Prime Air versus United Express, a passenger airline versus a cargo. Who will win? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Prime Air versus United Express. Alright, let's see who will win this time. Passenger versus cargo. United Express takes the land of Prime Air, which means United Express will now take the land of Prime Air and will move on to be the next airline, and will move on. So let's spin again. Alright, fun thing though, United Express's land looks like exactly like a 7. 6-7. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Prime Air lost against United Express, so who will be the next one to take the dub? And it's JetBlue Airways. And where will JetBlue Airways be attacking? It'll go southeast, which means JetBlue will claim the extra land underneath its territory and will move on. Let's get it. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, JetBlue finally got its new land, and next up is Delta Connection, the regional brand behind Delta Airlines. And where will Delta Connection be attacking? It'll go southwest, which means it's Delta Connection versus Avelo, the low-cost airline versus a regional brand. Let's go. Alright, next airline fight is Delta Connection versus Avelo. Now, who will take the cake? Oh, that is a close matchup. Avelo takes the land of Delta Connection, which means Delta Connection loses to Avelo and will be erased from the map, meaning Delta Airlines and Alaska Air will still be in existence for the regional brand. Ladies and gentlemen, Avelo has finally taken the land of Delta Connection. Delta doesn't look like it's happy. It's probably going to plan a revenge attack against Avelo. So let's continue. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Delta Connection lost against Ovella. So now, who's the next airline going to fight? And it's Delta Airlines themselves. And where will Delta Airlines be attacking? It'll go southwest, which means it's going to be Delta Airlines versus United. I guess Delta really wants to take revenge against Avelo. So let's go. And boom! Alright, Delta Airlines versus United Airlines. Both America's biggest airlines. Alright, Delta versus United. Who will take the cake? United takes the land of Delta Airlines, which means Delta Airlines lost against United Airlines and will surrender, meaning the full brand of Delta Airlines is gone from the map. Only several more versions of United Express and United, American Eagle, and American Airlines still are on the map, including Alaska Air. Let's keep going, people. Ladies and gentlemen, 14 airlines remain on this map, or actually you might see there's 12. So now, who is the next airline to take the next step? Southwest Airlines. And where will Southwest be attacking? It'll go north, which means Southwest is going to take extra land above its head. So let's celebrate Southwest for that. Good job, Southwest. Let's continue. Alright, the next airline to fight is American Eagle. And where will American Eagle be attacking? It'll go southwest, which means American Eagle is also going to be claiming extra land. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the next airline to fight will be American Airlines, we fly. And where will American Airlines be attacking? It'll go Southwest, which means it's American Airlines versus Southwest Airlines. Hey, that rhymes. So anyways, not enough with the chit chat. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have AA versus Southwest Airlines. Let's see who will be the winner. Southwest takes the land of American Airlines, which means American Airlines loses to Southwest Airlines, and now Southwest will become the biggest continent on this video and will now spin again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the next airlines to fight will be Giant Airlines. And where will Allegiant Airlines be fighting? It'll go Southeast, which means it's Giant versus Frontier. Let's go again. Alright, I don't know if Frontier died in the airline video, but hey. Oh, we all said it was Frontier anyways, so comment down if I'm wrong. And Frontier takes the land of Giant, which means... Oh wait, actually, yeah, Giant actually wins. It's actually, no, actually, hold on. Bring back Giant. He'd actually win this time. Giant actually wins against Frontier. Hang on, let me fix the map up real quick. Actually, the winner belongs to Giant. Sorry, Frontier. Frontier actually got beat. Okay, anyways, let's go. So, Giant technically won that last round. Sorry if I kind of messed it up. So, anyways, next up is American Eagle. And where will American Eagle will be attacking? It'll go west. Actually, hold up. What is this arrow even doing to my life? If it goes west, then it'll drown. So we had to spin again. So where will American Eagle? Dude, okay, actually you can do that. Which means it's American Eagle versus Hawaiian Airlines. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, American Eagle versus Hawaiian. Who will be the next winner? Okay, let's go for this one. And American Eagle takes the land of Hawaiian Airlines, which means American Eagle takes the land from Hawaiian Airlines, and now will be the next airline to fight. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, 12 airlines remain on the map, so I think it's the time to change your bet on. You can pick between JetBlue, Giants, Southwest. Wait, never mind. Southwest lost. What I meant to say was, alright, pick your next airline. So it'll be JetBlue, Giant, American Eagle, FedEx, United, Spirit, Avelo, Alaska, Sun Country, Breeze, and United Express. Now pick your new bet and cross your fingers because the new. Alright, let's go. Let me just remove Southwest off of there. Alright, let's go. Next airline to fight. And it is JetBlue. Nope, it's Hawaiian. Bro, hold on. I think I might have got rid of the wrong airline. Hang on a minute. I think Hawaiian is actually lost. So instead of... Hang on. Hold on. Bro, what is wrong with my brain today? Okay, Southwest is back on the board. So technically Southwest is the next airline to be attacker. And now where will the wheel spin, the arrow will be going east. Which means Southwest Airlines claims the land next to it and will now claim the land as its own. And it will spin again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we now have 12 airlines remaining on this map. And I know I've been kind of like missed focused right now and then. So anyways, let's go. Next airline to fight. Who is it going to be? And it's Spirit. And where will Spirit Airlines be attacking? It'll go southeast, which means Spirit is going to be invading Breeze Airways' land. Let's go. Alright, here we go. Who's the next airline to take the land? And it is Breeze Airways takes the land of Spirit Airlines, which means Spirit Airlines now loses to Breeze Airways, and now its land is now conquered by a new low-cost airline. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we have now 11 airlines now competing for land. So we have, wait a minute. Okay, I think for some reason there isn't United Express. Hang on, let me go make it 11. Okay, for some reason I did not even include those two airlines, so we now have 11 entries. Okay, anyways, let's just continue on. I'm sorry for you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just tired right now. And it's Ollie Giant's turn. And where will Ollie Giant be attacking? It'll go southwest, which means Ollie Giant will be claiming extra land down there beneath it. Let's go. Alright, the next airline to fight will be Sun Country. And where will Sun Country be attacking? It'll go northwest, which means it's Sun Country versus JetBlue Airways. Let's go see who will take the cake. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, let's see who's going to be taking it now, JetBlue or Sun Country. And JetBlue takes the win, which means Sun Country now lost against JetBlue Airways, and now its land is taken over by a new low-cost airline, JetBlue. Now let's spin again. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we now have 10 people competing for this round to be the championship at the end of the year. Now this is all annually, so like almost every year I would be doing this. So JetBlue, FedEx, Avelo, Breeze, Alaska, Southwest, United, Ollie Giant, American Eagle, and United Express. Let's see who will take the final 10. And the first airline of the semifinals of the finals is United. And United will be attacking east. It's United versus JetBlue. I can literally tell it here from this position. So if you look here, it said that the arrow was supposed to point east. Now looking here, United is for attacking JetBlue Airways. So anyways, I have them all set up right here. So now let's see who will take the W. And JetBlue takes the land of United, which means United loses to JetBlue Airways, and its land is now being infested by a low-cost carrier. And now, let's spin the wheel again. Alright, people, the final 9 airlines are competing for tonight. And let's see, who's the next airline going to be fighting? And it'll be Breeze Airways. And where will Breeze Airways be attacking? It'll go northeast, which means it's Breeze Airways versus the almighty Southwest Airlines. Let's see who will take the dub. Alright, now we got Breeze Airways versus Southwest. Who will now take the win? And Southwest takes the win of Breeze Airways, which means Southwest takes the land of Breeze Airways, and now Breeze Airways surrenders its land to Southwest Airlines. And now we will continue on to spin the wheel. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the new board matchup that we had. JetBlue Airways looks kind of big, but compared to Southwest, I think Southwest is the biggest of them all in this map. Anyways, let's go. Alright, next up, we have 8 people now on the remaining entries. So now it's Avelo. And where will Avelo be attacking? It'll go eastish, which means it's Avelo versus Alaska Airlines. Let's go. Alright, let's see who will win. Avelo versus Alaska Air. And Alaska Air takes Avelo's land, which means Avelo now loses to Alaska Airlines, and now we will move on with Alaska Air being the next continent. Let's go. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we now have 7 carriers now fighting. So now, who will be the next one to fight? It is Southwest Airlines. And where will Southwest Airlines be attacking? It'll go southeast, which means it's Southwest Airlines versus all the giant airlines. Let's keep it up. Alright, airline. Alright, let's see. Southwest versus Ollie Giant. Who will it be to take the dub? And Southwest takes the land of Ollie Giant, which means Ollie Giant loses to Southwest Airlines, and Southwest Airlines might be the biggest compared to everyone in this video. And now we will move on with Southwest being the biggest of them all. And let's go. Alright, last 6 airlines are going to now be competing, so who's the next one going to be? And it is Southwest once again. And where will Southwest be attacking? It'll go west, which means Southwest will claim more land down here and will now be the biggest nation in this continent of airlines. Look at how big Southwest Airlines' territory is compared to everyone else in the map. So anyways, let's continue. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Southwest is becoming the bigger and biggest airline by the moment. And next up is Southwest once again. I promise I'm not using hacks. And where will Southwest be attacking? It'll go north, which means it's Southwest Airlines versus JetBlue Airways. Let's see who will take it home. Alright, Southwest versus JetBlue, the kings of low-cost travel for Americas. Actually, it's like Spirit. But anyways, who will be the next one to take the dub? And please JetBlue, please JetBlue, please JetBlue, please JetBlue. Yes! Yes! How am I even getting so lucky? Southwest loses, which means JetBlue Airways now take the land of Southwest Airlines, and JetBlue is now the biggest carrier in all of this nation. And now JetBlue will now be the biggest nation in all these land. And let's give him a crown to be the biggest airline in all of this continent. Look at how big JetBlue is now compared to everyone else. Anyways, let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is, the final 5 airlines that we started off with. So now, let me read them to you. We have the options of American Eagle, Alaska, JetBlue, United Express, and FedEx. So, pick your airline and cross your fingers. The final few rounds of Airline Imperialism will begin. So now the next airline to take is United Express. And United Express will be attacking west. Which means it's United Express versus American Eagle, the 2 brothers to survive. Let's see who will win. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, United Express versus American Eagle, the 2 brothers of regional travel. So let's see, attacker will be United versus the opponent American Eagle. And who will it be? United Express takes the land of American Eagle, which means American Eagle lost against United Express and will surrender all of its land. Actually, every single piece of land in there will now be surrendered to United Express. And let's continue on. The final 4 airlines are now remaining on the map of all these airlines that we started off with. Now it's United Express once again. Wow. And United Express will be attacking Alaska Airlines. It'll attack Alaska Airlines. Alright, United Express versus Alaska Air. So let's see who will be the next airline to claim land, and it is United Express. United Express is killing it right now. Which means United Express now takes uh, Alaska Airlines' land and now will be the second largest compared to Alaska. I mean JetBlue Airways. So let's give him a crown. Not the same size though. And now Alaska United Express is the second largest. Bruh. Why did I spell United Express wrong? There we go, that's much better. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, here are the final three airlines tonight. We have JetBlue, the biggest, United Express, the second biggest, and FedEx, the smallest. Alright, so now, who will it take? If United Express win this, then they can either fight JetBlue or FedEx. Or if JetBlue takes it, United Express, it'll fight United. You know the drill. Anyways, let's see the final round. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the final spin is now in motion. So now let's see who will be the next airline. And it's FedEx. Alright, FedEx is the next one. And who will FedEx Airlines be attacking? It'll go southeast, which means it's FedEx Express. FedEx versus United Express. And now, if FedEx wins this, then he will compete against JetBlue. Or if United Express wins, then I do not know so much about JetBlue. Good luck, FedEx. We need you. Alright, FedEx versus United. These two FedEx got. If FedEx wins this, then once again, he will be competing against JetBlue. Alright, come on. Come on. Yes! Let's go! FedEx wins this. Which means FedEx Air will now take the land of United Express and now will be the second biggest compared to JetBlue. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the final battle is here. And now we shall see who will be our champion of tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the final board of battle. We have JetBlue versus FedEx. Now, we will be doing a tally three of this decision tonight. And we shall see who will be the #1 champion of tonight. So let's see. Alright, I'm all set up. I have my computer open and now... Hang on, let me refresh it, by the way. Alright, here we go. JetBlue versus... Alright, JetBlue, it's your turn. And it starts off with a nope. Alright, it started off with an L. Now let's see who will be the next one. And it's... another L. Come on, JetBlue, you gotta win this. And it all comes down to L. JetBlue Airways loot. I think JetBlue Airways is going to probably lose, but we gotta do FedEx's turn. Alright, FedEx, your turn. And FedEx starts off with a yes. And now, what will be the next one? And another yes. I think FedEx is probably gonna. I'm pretty sure FedEx is gonna win this one. FedEx is probably gonna win. I promise I'm not using cheats this time. And ladies and gentlemen, the final answer is here. FedEx Airlines is now the #1 champion of tonight. And now FedEx is the biggest continent on this win. And FedEx is now the biggest continent of them all. Let's go. Shout out to FedEx. Which means FedEx is our champion tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, here's our winner tonight, FedEx Airlines. And now I will show you the last 3 champions if you haven't been watching them in the past 3 days. So on day 1, Pan Am World Airways was our champion. On day 2, Play Airlines. And now FedEx. Now this will go on for a full year until the end of December. Which means that one of these airlines that will soon be the champion will be our new winner. So, anyways, Congrats to FedEx being the winner of this map, and see you tomorrow.